Chapter 14, Lesson 2, the Muscular System. Now remember the big idea to keep in mind through all three of these systems in Chapter 14. How do bones, muscles, and skin help maintain the body's homeostasis? The key concepts to look for in this section is what does the muscular system do? That's the functions. How do types of muscle differ? And how does the muscular system interact with other body systems? And that's the homeostasis. There are approximately 600 muscles in the human body. Many of them are different kinds of cells. Only muscle cells have the ability to do two things. They contract, which shortens them, and they relax, which means they turn or return to their original length. So only these kinds of cells in the human body, the muscle cells, have that ability. The functions of the muscular system are movement, stability, protection, maintain body temperature, and help digestion and respiration. The usual one that most people think of is movement, and we talked a little bit about this when we studied the skeletal system, because the bones move when our muscles contract. It is the muscles attached by tendons that move the levers of the bones. So tendons attach muscles to bone and help keep the joints in place when your body moves. The two key words is that contraction, which shortens the muscle, which pulls on the muscle and creates the movement. Contraction refers to the ability of a muscle tissue to shorten and thereby cause the movement because it's attached by a tendon to the bone. So your muscles, you need to realize, they pull. They never push. So they're pulling by contracting and shortening, and that's what's doing the pulling. Stability means when you can remain in your posture or you start to lose your balance, your muscles are going to pull in different directions to help keep you in balance. That's stability. Protection, if you look inside your body, most of the skeleton and most of the organs inside your body are covered by a layer or one or more layers of muscles, and that's going to add padding to protect them. They maintain body temperature. You know this, if you get cold, you shiver and you create goosebumps. So that shivering is your muscles contracting, the muscles that we'll learn when we study the integumentary system attached to each hair follicle and creates the goosebump. And whenever your muscles contract, whether they be the ones that are attached to your hairs, your little hairs in your arm, whenever they contract, there's a chemical energy that is changed to thermal energy, and it raises your body temperature. So that happens not just with the shivering, but also when you're contracting and doing exercises and so forth. In helping digestion, there are muscles that line most of the digestive tract, like your esophagus. Your stomach is lined with muscle, your small intestines, and it's actually contractions of those that are going to cause the food to move. And also your blood vessels. Your blood vessels are lined with muscle, and that muscle then can contract or relax, and it contracts and relaxes to maintain your body temperature. And there's also the big diaphragm muscle and intercostal muscles, which are between your ribs. Those are used in breathing. Now, one thing you need to realize about the different types of muscle is the nervous control. Can you consciously control that muscle, or is it subconsciously controlled by a part of your nervous system? Voluntary muscles are muscles that you control at will, that you consciously control. And those would be the ones that move your skeleton. You don't accidentally punch somebody in the face. You contract your muscles and you direct that, and you voluntarily control those at will. Now with breathing, some muscles you have some control because you can actually force a breath. You can hold your breath for a while, but you can't hold your breath till you die. If you even pass out, that's going to take over your subconscious. Your heart, you don't have to consciously control. Get it to beat about 70 times every minute. It's a good thing. So it just beats subconsciously. There's a part of your brain in which it is controlled, the medulla oblongata. So those are involuntary muscles. So voluntary muscles are like the skeletal muscles, the ones that you consciously control. Involuntary would be your organs and also the heart, which you cannot control. Or some fit in both, where you can actually, like blinking. You cannot not blink, but you can force a blink, and you can try to hold a blink for a long time, and some are better than others at that. The types of muscles that you need to be familiar with, there are 3 in our human body. There's skeletal muscle, visceral muscle, and in your book it is called smooth, but I want you to know the technical name is visceral muscle. And there's cardiac muscle. And you'll also see this in the lab that we are doing. There are 3 things you need to know about each muscle type. You need to know where in the human body they're found. You need to know the microscopic appearance, whether they have striations or not. And then you need to know the type of nervous control, whether voluntary or involuntary. So skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is named for where it's located. It's attached to the skeleton somewhere. It is striated. That's its appearance under the microscope. Striated are striations or lines. You can see, if you look in that top picture there, you can see lighter pink and then a darker pink. The darker pink would be the stripes, and the lighter, so that makes striations. With the lower picture, that would be, the upper picture would be like a longitudinal cut of the skeletal muscle, and then the lower picture would be like if you cut it cross-section, like cross-section across your biceps or your triceps. And of course, we mentioned that they are voluntary. You consciously control the skeletal muscles by your thought, by your will. Skeletal muscle moves bones by pulling, and the key thing is they work in pairs. So when your biceps is contracting, the triceps is relaxing and getting longer. And that is pulling then your lower arm up. When you extend your lower arm, what happens is the biceps starts relaxing and returning to its normal shape, and the triceps now is pulling on the lower arm bones, radius and ulna, and that is causing it to extend. Skeletal muscles move by pulling and working in pairs.
When the biceps muscle contracts, the lower arm is moved upward. When the triceps muscle on the back of the upper arm contracts, the lower arm moves downward. Muscles work in opposing pairs, like the biceps-triceps pair, to move bones.
Notice they're getting shorter and longer. Your skeletal muscles can change throughout your lifetime, and exercise is what's going to change that, or not exercising. If you've ever had like your arm or leg in a cast, you know after they take the cast out that your muscle has actually deteriorated some. It's wasted away. It's called atrophy, which we'll talk about. Or if you exercise, then your muscle cells increase in size, which is making your muscle increase in size, and it's going to get larger and it's going to get stronger. Visceral muscle is what's called smooth, and that's because of appearance. Your book uses the term smooth. It's also known as non-striated. If you look at muscle that is found, and where it's found is lining many of your organs, and we're going to talk about the sphincters and where those are. The iris of the eye is the colored portion of your eye, and your internal organs, like your stomach, your small intestines, your esophagus. The nervous control is involuntary. You do not consciously control like your stomach digesting, or the food moving through your esophagus, or the blood moving through your blood vessels. Now here's some of the places. The reason they call it visceral is because it refers to internal organs, those soft internal organs. So the name fits well because it's in the walls of internal organs such as your stomach, intestines, blood vessels, your urinary bladder, what holds your urine. That is actually a muscular bag, and it's made out of visceral muscle. It's located in the iris of the eye. And what sphincters are circular bundles of muscle that regulate a lot of the tubular organs inside of us, such as a good example would be our stomach. The tubular organ, stomach, the esophagus where it meets the stomach, that's a sphincter. It's called the cardiac sphincter at the beginning of your stomach. At the end of your stomach is another sphincter connecting your stomach to the small intestines. And that is called the pyloric sphincter, and that's visceral muscle. Visceral muscle is smooth. You don't see the light dark bands. You don't see the striations, and there's a good picture of it. And the contraction of the smooth muscle helps move material through the body, such as food in the stomach, blood through the blood vessels. Cardiac is found one place only, and that's in the heart. And it has a lot more branching than does the skeletal. Skeletal has some branching as well, but cardiac has a lot more branching. Skeletal has striations, cardiac has striations. The key way to tell the difference is in the branching. And also you have these little disc plates, which are these darker, if you see those darker lines that are thicker than the striations, and that has to do with the nervous control being involuntary and the nerve impulses moving over and causing all those muscle cells to contract in approximately the exact same time. When cardiac muscle contracts and relax, they pump our blood through our heart, through our blood vessels, and through our body. And they send signals to each other by those little discs that I showed you in the previous, and that's what causes them to contract then at the same time. Now, homeostasis. To maintain homeostasis, the muscular systems contract and give chemical energy that's warming our body. So that's dealing with the temperature, which has to do also with our immune system and our healthiness. Exercise of your heart. The better the heart is, the more relaxed it can be and not have to beat as much to get the job done, which is maintaining homeostasis of your circulatory system. When it contracts faster, the heart pumps more blood and more oxygen to the cells, and that would be when you're scared or when you are exercising and having to move something very quickly. All right, some diseases and disorders of the of the muscular system. And I mentioned about atrophy. Atrophy is when the muscle fibers actually start deteriorating. They start wasting away and dying. And that's because of lack of use. So that's why if a person is paralyzed, they're going to have some physical therapy done to their legs or arms, wherever the paralysis is, to keep those muscle fibers moving. And you've seen this, as I mentioned, if you've had a cast. Convulsions. Convulsions are violent, involuntary contractions of an entire group of muscles. They're characterized by having the disorder of epilepsy, and also if a person is trying to go through drug withdrawals, they'll usually go through severe convulsions. Cramps, we've all had a muscle cramp. That's painful too. It's involuntary contractions of a muscle, but it's not an entire group like a convulsion. It's muscles that have become fatigued. They've been used a lot. Muscular dystrophy is a progressively crippling disease. It's of unknown cause, and for some reason, the muscles just start to weaken and atrophy and waste away. Paralysis is the inability to move a muscle or muscles, and sometimes that's because of an accident where you break your neck or break your two vertebrae, and that then paralyzes you because the spinal cord is severed somewhere. Or it could also be through diseases and other things. Shin splints. It's a soreness on the front of the lower leg, because remember that's the tibia, which is the shin bone, and it's usually due to straining a muscle. A spasm. A spasm is an involuntary contraction, shorter duration than a cramp. It's usually not as painful. I call it a muscle twitch. A lot of times my eye will get a little twitch in it, or at the top of my arm, my shoulder there, I'll get a little twitch of one of my muscles. That's a spasm. And I've not had pain associated with it, so spasms can be non-painful as well.